Welcome to Sri Jagannatha Puri Dham. Mahajano yena gatasa bandha. In every aspect of our lives, we should aspire to follow in the footsteps of the great souls. We cannot imitate, but to capture within our hearts the spirit of the aspirations and the example of the great Vaishnavas is the true path of perfection. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, as founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, taught us by his words and by his example how to live every moment of our lives, how to eat, how to sleep, how to walk, how to dance, how to have relationships with various types of people, how to perform our sadhana, how to perform our seva. And the foundation is establishing the proper intention. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Shikshastakam prayed, Na dhanam na janam na sundarim kapitam vajakadisha kamaye Mama janmani janmaneshwari bhavatad bhaktir ahoitaki pray. This can be applied to everything we do, everything we say, and everyone we meet. Our purpose is to please Krishna. And Krishna himself came in the form of Lord Chaitanya. Through his simple words, he encapsulated the very essence of the Bhagavad Gita and all the Vedas. This verse in particular is special. I do not approach you, my Lord, for wealth, for enjoyment of the senses with the opposite sex or any other way. I do not want fame or prestige. I do not want to be known as a great poet. He doesn't ask for supernatural powers or even liberation from suffering. In whatever birth you want me to take, my prayer is I may serve you unconditional. Sabai pungsang paro dharmo yato bhaktir hoksheche ahoitaki apratihata yagatma suprasidati. Lord Chaitanya was the very personification of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the basis of the Srimad Bhagavatam. That the supreme dharma is that which awakens from our hearts loving devotional service to the supreme truth. Such service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted. In other words, no selfishness, no egoism, Athapumbir dvijastreshtas varnashrama vibhaga shashvanushtatasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Whatever our particular role may be in society, whatever our ashram, our intention should be to please Krishna. If Krishna is pleased, it doesn't matter what the rest of the world establishes as a standard of success. We should know that we are supremely successful. If we win or lose, if we're success or failure, victory or defeat, if we live or die, those are all details. What is really important is through my intentions and my actions and words, have I pleased Krishna? Lord Chaitanya, he taught the principle of how to please Krishna. Gopi bharatur padakamalayora dasa dasa das anudas. To be the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord's servants. Krishna tells that one who worships my devotee is more dear to me than one who worships me. And throughout the scriptures, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is the primary message. How Krishna loves his devotees. How the devotees love Krishna. And in that love, one who loves Krishna is most dear to the devotees, and one who loves the devotees is most dear to Krishna. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridesharjuna tishtati. Krishna's in our hearts. He's watching, he's listening, he's feeling at every moment. Tapasya, tapo divyam putra gayena sattvam. In its true sense, it's not just about fasting or giving up sleep or living in caves. That could be, but those are details. The heart of tapasya, Rupa Goswami has explained. To accept what is favorable for devotional service and to reject what is unfavorable. In this ocean of material existence, the waves and the winds are trying to distract us in so many directions. The Vedic literatures tell us human life is like a boat. The spiritual master is like the captain of the boat. And the Vedic knowledge is the breezes that move the boat. The spiritual master very much lives through those who faithfully serve. We find all the great gurus of our parampara, they entrusted their association to the world through those who followed them. The association of devotees. Rupa Goswami tells one of the 5 primary practices of bhakti is association of devotees. It's like the compass. The Guru's words, being reminded by the devotees, keeps us in the proper direction. Because in every way, from within and without, Maya is trying to distract us, trying to somehow convince us that what is really not important at all is so important. And when we think in those things, in those ways, then we become prisoners of the misconception of Janasya Moho Yamaham Mameti, I and mine. We become self-centered, we become egoistic, we make offenses to others, we waste our valuable time. Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas taught us how to utilize our time. Nasta parayasya bhadreshu nityam bhagavati sevaya. It's important that we hear from the Srimad Bhagavatam. We hear from the person Bhagavatams regularly. Otherwise, it is for certain that we will be distracted. We could be great scholars. We could have millions of followers. We could be very wealthy. And we could be totally distracted. Trinadapi sunichena taror ibasi hishnuna amani namanadena kirtaniya sadahari. If we're not truly aspiring to be humble, tolerant, forgiving, and eager to chant the holy names. When Srila Prabhupada was very young, he used to sometimes look at the Indian Railways timetable, seeing what time the next train to Jagannath Puri was leaving from Calcutta. From his very young childhood, Jagannath Puri was such a sacred, holy place for him. In fact, when he was even younger, he would organize Ratha Yatra festivals through little streets and alleyways of Kolkata. Jagannath Puri, Shankaracharya, who's Lord Shiva himself. We don't agree with his philosophy, but we accept Govindam, or Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda Mudhamate. He proclaimed 4 dhams, Badrinath, Dwarka, was the Jagannath Puri and Rameshwaram, yes, the north, south, east, and west. Sripad Ramanujacharya, he came here, and like many of us, we were thinking, why are the pujaris, the pandas, doing what they're doing? He was establishing very strong systems of deity worship according to Vedic principles. And he was seeing some spontaneous things going on here which didn't fit. But then one night he went to sleep, and Jagannatha picked him up and threw him in his dream. And he woke up, and he was in another place, Kurmakshetra. So this is an important place for Ramanujacharya, Shripad Madhvacharya. He came here so many times in his preaching tours and his pilgrimages. Shripad Ballabhacharya. Madhavendra Puri. We read in Chaitanya Charitamrita about his pilgrimage here. And most important for us, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, who within his heart is tasting the sweetness of Sri Radha's love. And externally is also teaching by his example how to be a devotee. I'd like to very briefly explain how Lord Chaitanya first came to Jagannath Puri. But I don't know how long it will be, so I'll say something before. While we're here on this pilgrimage, it's something for many of us is one time a year we come to a holy place. We come here to pray, to beg, and to cry for pure devotion. We come here as beggars, knowing that we really have no true love for Krishna. And true love for Krishna can never be achieved by anything we do, anything we say, or anything we think. It is given by Sri Radharani, by Sri Krishna, through their loving devotees when they are pleased with us. And there is no other way to receive it. So we come on pilgrimages to beg for that love, to beg for that spirit of unmotivated service, to beg for a true taste for hearing the glories and pastimes of Krishna and chanting his holy names. The inconveniences that come when we're on pilgrimage are considered to be wonderful blessings. I believe there's over 6,000 people sitting today. It may seem crowded, hot, and it is. And that's Lord Jagannatha's blessing. Because inconveniences for a devotee are opportunities to take shelter. To take shelter of a higher principle beyond this bodily conception. To take shelter of Krishna's mercy. And let us use every moment we have for the highest purpose. To remember Krishna, to pray to Krishna, to speak about Krishna, to chant about Krishna, and to serve Krishna's devotees. There are limitless opportunities at every moment. And when we are in a supremely holy place like Jagannath Puri, the pleasure we give to Krishna and the advancement we make is magnifies many times more than anywhere else. In Lord Chaitanya's Leelas, so many places he would go, there would literally be millions and millions of people. In comparison, this pandal is a very lonely place. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he left Navadvip. He went to Katha to become a sannyasi. Why? At the time of the Chand Kazi's procession, he transformed most all of Navadvip into pure devotees. But still, there were people who were very envious of him and blasphemous of his devotees. And what about the rest of the world? So Lord Chaitanya left his loving widowed mother, Sachi Devi, his very young and perfectly loving wife, Vishnupriya, and all of his friends and devotees. He left the Yogapith, Srivasangam, all the places where he would perform Kirtan, have Hari Katha, bathe in the Ganga. Navadvip is none different than Vrindavan. He left his own abode in the spiritual world to reach out to the fallen souls of this age of Kali. At the conclusion of the sannyas ceremony in Katha, Keshav Bharati Maharaj, he proclaimed, well, first he thought, what sannyas name is fitting for such a personality as Nimai Pandit? Generally, in the Bharati Sampradaya that he was in, you give the name Bharati. But this person's the Supreme Lord. This person's transcendental to everything. Then he considered, he said it. He said, you are inspiring people everywhere to chant the names of Krishna. You are spreading the Sankirtan movement for the good fortune of people throughout the world. Therefore, I give you the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And when he said that, everyone roared, Haribol. And flowers fell upon the Lord. And he gave Lord Chaitanya his danda and kamandalu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so blissful. He began to dance. Mukunda Dutt started to sing and Lord Chaitanya danced. Keshav Bharati Maharaj was a very, very senior, elderly, scholarly sannyasi. He was standing and watching. In the midst of the kirtan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced him. What an embrace. As soon as he was embraced, Keshav Bharati Maharaj began to weep in the ecstasy of love of Krishna and fell to the ground unconscious. He got up and danced. Both Lord Chaitanya and his guru were dancing in such ecstatic love that they lost track of their dandas and kamandalus. They danced and they danced and danced with all the devotees roaring the holy names. They chanted and danced, weeping in love for Krishna, as the whole town of Katha joined the Kirtan throughout the entire night. When the morning came, Lord Chaitanya told to Keshav Bharati, I am going to the forest, I'm going to Vrindavan. Keshav Bharati Maharaj said, I am going with you. And everybody of Katha said, we're coming too. So they entered the forest, chanting, dancing, praying Kirtan with such love. They didn't know whether they were going north or south or east or west. They were so immersed in the sweet sounds of the holy names. After some time, Lord Chaitanya turned to everyone and said, now you should all go home. Chant the holy names of Krishna always. Krishna is your true wealth. Krishna is your true life. If you chant in this way, if you serve in this spirit, then there can be no impediment to your spiritual progress. In fact, you will be given a rasa, a spiritual ecstatic relationship with Krishna that even Brahma, Shiva, and Sukadev are yearning for. It was completely heartbreaking for them to leave Lord Chaitanya, but that benediction was so nice. They happily returned to their homes. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked leave of Keshav Bharati Maharaj. Lord Chaitanya, along with Nityananda Prabhu, Mukunda Dutt, Chandrasekhar, they entered to the province of Radhadesh. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur explains how Lord Chaitanya was dancing and singing constantly in the ecstasy of going to Vrindavan. One of the devotees was sent back to Navadvip to tell all the devotees that Lord Chaitanya had taken sannyas. When Advaitacharya heard that news, he cried pathetically. Sachimata, all the devotees were around her constantly just to keep her alive after her son had left. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur tells that Sachimata stood like a statue. Advaitacharya fell unconscious to the ground. Other devotees were falling to the ground crying. Sachi Devi didn't even have the strength to fall down. She just stood. Sunyayatam jagat saravam govinda virahena me. The whole world was a dreary, limitless void in separation of Lord Gauranga. Seeing Sachi Devi in such a state, seeing that Advaita had lost all composure, the devotees were in a hopeless state. Sri Advaita, he loudly said that without Lord Chaitanya, I have no reason to live. I cannot live. I will go to the Ganges and take my life. And if anyone tries to stop me, I will go at night when no one sees me. The devotees, they told him, we are not going to stop you, we are going with you. We will all take our lives. That was their firm commitment to their own hearts. Just then, a transcendental voice spoke from the sky. That Lord Gauranga will be with you again in just 2 or 4 days, to be dancing and chanting. Be patient. Upon hearing this news, it gave them solace. Meanwhile, in Radha Desh, so many things were happening. Everywhere Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and those devotees were going was Kirtan. It was attracting so many people. At one time, because Radha Desh in those days was known as a very impious place, Lord Chaitanya was thinking that for so many hours we haven't seen anyone chanting. Then there was a little boy among other little boys. They were herding cows. And one little boy saw Lord Chaitanya and screamed out very loudly, "Haribol!" And Lord Chaitanya became ecstatic. He said, I could understand we must be coming close to the Ganges. Because wherever the breeze of the Ganga is blowing, whoever gets touched by that breeze becomes receptive to Krishna consciousness. Whoever sees Mother Ganga, tastes her waters, takes bath in her, even hears the word, the name Ganga, that person becomes receptive to pure devotional service. Lord Chaitanya became so happy, so grateful to that little boy who said Haribol. He gave them all pure ecstatic love for Krishna and induced them all to chant the holy names while they were herding their cows. Lord Chaitanya was eager to reach Vrindavan. He loved these cowherd boys and he loved the cows. In fact, when Lord Chaitanya saw so many cows grazing in the pastures, it induced very intimate feelings of remembrance of Krishna. Nityananda Prabhu secretly went to those cowherd boys and said, if this sannyasi, Lord Chaitanya, if he asks you the way to the Yamuna and Vrindavan, give him directions to the Ganga. Nityananda Prabhu, very influential, especially among cowherd boys. So they just accepted what he said. After dancing and chanting amidst the cowherd boys and the cows for a long time, Lord Chaitanya asked the cowherd boys, which is the way to Vrindavan, to the river Yamuna? And they said, this way. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in anticipation of going to Vrindavan, he lost any conception of direction, but he started going that way. Before him, he saw the river. With such excitement. It was the first time in this incarnation he was going to be seeing Yamuna directly. He went to the river. He offered his prostrated obeisances. He offered beautiful prayers in glorification of Mother Yamuna, that you are eternally flowing in the spiritual world of Goloka, and there you are forever increasing the loving ecstasies of Sri Radha and Krishna and all the devotees. And you've come to this world, and anyone who connects with you are purified of their sins. Their love for Krishna awakens. He offered his obeisances to the daughter of the sun god, Sri Yamuna Devi. Then in great ecstasy, he entered the river Yamuna. Meanwhile, Nityananda Prabhu had already sent a message to Advaita Acharya to come there on a boat. Lord Chaitanya saw him. He said, Advaita Prabhu, how did you know I was in Vrindavan? How you have come to Yamuna? Sri Advaita Prabhu replied, my Lord, wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. But this is the Ganga. And we're in Shantipur. Lord Chaitanya became very externally disturbed. He said, Nityananda Prabhu has cheated me. He has sent me here. And Advaita Prabhu said, no, whatever Nityananda Prabhu has said is correct. He's completely honest. Because Yamuna Devi is coming from Yamunotri, Ganga is coming from Gangotri. They meet at Prayag. At the time when they meet, then from that place, the eastern side of the river is considered Ganga, and the western side is Yamuna. And my Lord, you are bathing on the western side, you are bathing in Yamuna, just as Nityananda Prabhu has said. But you have no change of clothes, and you've just taken your bath, and I brought an extra set of fresh clothes for you to put on. And you've been fasting for 3 days, wandering through Radhadesh, so please come to my home. I have some boiled vegetables and little rice, and allow me to feed you. Lord Chaitanya got on the boat with Advaita Prabhu. They sailed to his house in Shantipur. Meanwhile, they sent a messenger to Navadvip to invite Sachi Devi and all the devotees to come to meet Lord Chaitanya at Advaita Bhavan. Meanwhile, Srila Haridas Thakur, who was living close to Advaita's house in Fuliagram, was so excited. Lord Chaitanya has come. The people of Shantipur, the people from all the villages around Shantipur, they all came crowding to have the darshan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya gave the same simple message almost everywhere he went. Chant the names of Krishna. Speak about Krishna. Hear about Krishna's pastimes. Serve Krishna's devotees. Krishna's your wealth. Krishna's your life. Return to your homes and live in this spirit. So soon thousands and thousands of people were gathering around Lord Chaitanya. He had everyone raise their arms very high, loudly chant Sankirtan. Lord Chaitanya entered Advaita Prabhu's house. Advaita washed his feet. He had a little son who was hardly 5 years old. His name was Achyutananda. He came running to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was now the crest jewel of all sannyasis. He offered his dandavat pranams. With such emotion, he was weeping in ecstasy to see Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya sat down and placed little Achyutananda on his lap. Very affectionately, Lord Chaitanya said that Advaita is my father. Therefore, Achyuta, you are my brother. I am your brother. And the little boy replied, you are the friend of all living beings. And you are the cause of all causes, the source of everything that exists, and the supreme father of all living beings. When Lord Chaitanya and all the devotees heard little Achyutananda speaking such transcendental philosophical conclusions, they were so struck with wonder. Advaita Prabhu fed Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. It's a beautiful pastime. Throughout the day, Advaitacharya had festival of Hari Katha, and throughout the night, Hari Kirtan. The word spread in Navadvip after the messenger Chandrasekhar came and gave them that Lord Chaitanya was in Shantipur. Everyone from Navadvip immediately left whatever they were doing to go to Shantipur. Even the atheists, who were the worst blasphemers of the Lord and his devotees, when they heard the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya, their hearts were transformed. The power of Lord Chaitanya. When he left Navadvip to take sannyas, the feelings of viraha, the feelings of separation were so intense among all the devotees that it affected everyone else. Suddenly, even the atheists and the arrogant Brahmins who were criticizing Lord Chaitanya, they were feeling totally heartbroken. He was here. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he lived amongst us. We did not recognize him. We criticized him. And worse than that, we criticized his devotees. shameful, how disgraceful our lives are. What are we going to do now? When they heard, now Lord Chaitanya, even they were crying in separation. And when now Lord was at Advaita Bhavan, even they were rushing to see him, to surrender their hearts, to seek shelter. Vrindavan Das Thakur explains just a little drop from the oceanic description of what really happened that day. Thousands, tens and thousands, hundreds and thousands of people were rushing from Navadvip and all the villages around it to have the darshan of Lord Chaitanya in Shantipur. But they had to cross a river in those days. The boatman, for them, this was sudden news. It was just a regular day. Suddenly, it looked like millions of people coming to their boats. And they all wanted to leave immediately. They were overcrowding the boats beyond descriptions. And what could they do? The boatmen just started going. But almost every boat began to sink when it was in the middle of the Ganga, or the river that it was on. Some of them capsized and tipped over. And whoever did not know how to swim was completely joyful. Think about it. You're in a wide river. It's very deep. You're right in the middle. You don't know how to swim. The boat sinks. You're in the water. But they were happy. They were so happy because they were going to see Lord Chaitanya. And in their happiness, without even trying to swim, they effortlessly floated to the shore. This is historical. Other people, they took little branches from banana trees and made them into little rafts and held on to it. And somehow or other, it took them to the other side. Some took little clay pots and held it. It's not that the pots or the banana tree trunks or leaves were actually causing them to float. They were just thinking like that. They were just doing whatever they can. But somehow or other, in their enthusiasm, they had total faith because they were taking shelter. Everyone was chanting the names of Hari. And this was the power of how these miracles happened. Because they weren't just singing. From the core of their hearts, they were taking shelter of Krishna's holy names. It's natural that when something comes too easy, we can not understand its value. So we see in so many situations, whenever the Lord incarnates, and we could see it in our own lives. When there's difficulties, Vyavashayatmaka budhya rekeha kurunandana bahusha kahyanantascha budhayo vyavashayana. And we have determination. Trita brata. We have commitment. And we have faith. Faith in the mercy of the Lord. Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, Daivi yesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mam evam ye prapadyante maya me tatarantite. This material nature is very difficult to overcome. It's actually impossible. But one who takes shelter of me can easily cross beyond it. But what does it mean, Sharanagati, to actually take shelter? It means to come to terms with the truth that I'm helpless without Krishna's mercy. There's limitless powers beyond my control that could destroy me and destroy everything that I'm proud of at any moment. And the anarthas of egoism and lust and anger, envy, greed, illusion are insurmountable. But if I take shelter of Krishna, Krishna, I'm yours. Krishna will be there for me. It's Krishna's promise. Man manabhava madbhakto madhyajim nam namaskuru mam evaishashi satyante pratijini priyoshime. Krishna promises us. Think of me always. Become my devotee. Worship me. Offer your homage to me. And you will come to me without fail. So this was the spirit within the hearts of all these people. There was no obstacle that they weren't willing to confront, to be with the Lord. And when they finally came to Shantipur, they were not only seeing him, but they were surrendering their lives to him. And therefore they were actually feeling the highest ecstasy of love upon seeing the Lord. Advaita just had everyone perform Kirtan. And how many tens and thousands, hundreds and thousands of people, and Advaita was cooking for all of them. How is it possible? Advaita Charya he's Krishna's incarnation. He's Sadashiva. He's Mahavishnu. In Navadvip, he danced in the mood of a gopi. Whatever ingredients Advaita had, he would cook. And whatever more he needed was there. In this way, everyone was fed full prasad. Everyone was so happy. It was at that time that Srivas, Gadadhar, Murari, Sridhar, Buddhimanta, Suklambar, Sriram, Srinidhi, Sripati, Pundarik, Vidyanidhi, all these devotees from Navadvip arrived. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for each devotee, he personally embraced them and cried in ecstasy upon seeing his devotees, and they cried in ecstasy upon seeing him. Lord Chaitanya made a promise to them. I will never leave you. I am your property. I am always subordinate to your love. And then, carried on a palanquin, Sachi Devi arrived. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his dandavat pranams to his mother. And Sachi Devi, who was Mother Yashoda herself, she lifted her sannyasi son and placed him on her lap. She looked at his beautiful face, but her eyes were so filled with tears that she could hardly see him. She was longing and yearning to see him clearly, but she couldn't. His face was so beautiful, golden like a full moon, his eyes like fully blossomed lotus petals, his nose like a sesame flower, his lips like the red fruits of the bimba tree. His eyebrows like the arrows of Kamadev. But there was something missing. His beautiful hair. The most beautiful thing in all of the cosmic creation. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Nimai's lovely flowing hair cascading around, circling his beautiful face. Now he had a shaved head. It broke her heart, but simultaneously she was so happy to see him. That faithful night in the month of Magh, just at the end of the 24th year of Lord Gauranga's pastimes, when he left home, Sachi Devi was convinced she would never see him again. And now her Nimai was sitting on her lap, right in front of all the devotees and all the guests and everyone else. She uncontrollably kissed him in the face again and again and again. Lord Chaitanya was surrendered to her love. He said, "My dear mother, I am your property. You gave birth to me in this world, and through all the years of my childhood growing up, you nourished me with your love in every way. Therefore, I am forever indebted to you. I can never repay you for your devotion. I am your property. Nothing is mine, but I am yours." Sachi Devi just wanted to cook for her Nimai. She cooked a wonderful feast of all the preparations that Nimai enjoyed. And then all the other devotees began inviting Nimai for Prasad. And Sachi Devi, she made one request. All of you, wherever my son goes, sometimes he'll see you, but he will never come back to my house. So this is the last opportunity I may have. As long as he's here at Advaita Bhavan, grant me this one request, that I will cook for him. And all the devotees celebrated with great happiness. Jai Sachi Devi. They would have kirtan. such kirtans. Nityananda Prabhu would be dancing, Advaita would be dancing, Haridas Thakur was dancing, Srivas and Gadadhar, everyone was they were reunited with Lord Chaitanya. Vipralamba and Sambhog. When there's separation, the intensity of the eruptions of love from the heart increases when there's reunion. That was the type of kirtan at Advaita Bhavan. Lord Chaitanya, to be reunited with his devotees again, he was so happy. Sometimes he would leap so high. He was above everyone's heads. And then when he was way up in the air, he would fall unconscious and fall to the ground. When Sachi Devi saw this, it broke her heart. She offered a simple prayer to Lord Krishna that since my earliest childhood, I have worshipped you. Whatever seva I have offered, whatever piety I have ever accumulated, I exchange it for just one benediction. My Lord, whenever my Nimai jumps in the air and falls on the ground, please bless him that he will not feel any pain. That was her only benediction. Such selfless love. She's asking nothing. She's not even asking for her own intense suffering of separation to be resolved. Only the happiness and the pleasure of her son, her beloved. For approximately 10 days, Advaita Acharya hosted this festival throughout the day and throughout the night. Lord Chaitanya, he wanted to please his devotees. But he also had a mission. His deep heart aspiration was to go to Vrindavan. After he took initiation in Gaya from Ishwara Puri, in the middle of the night, he left everyone to go to Vrindavan. And a celestial voice told him that he had incarnated to establish the Sankirtan movement in Navadvip. You can go to Vrindavan later. So he established a Sankirtan movement in Vrindavan. Then he took sannyas, eager to go to Vrindavan. But then Sachi Devi, she appealed to Lord Chaitanya that the same Krishna that is residing forever in Vrindavan is eternally living in the form of Jagannatha in Puri. But Puri and Navadvip are like two rooms in the same house. People from Puri are always coming to Navadvip, and from Navadvip going to Puri. If you go to Vrindavan, and I never hear about you, I never see you, I will not be able to maintain my life. But if you make your residence in Puri, then I will hear the news of your pastimes. And sometimes you'll come to the Ganga, And the devotees, they will bring prasad I cooked to Puri. All the devotees agreed with Sachi Devi's appeal. And in his love for his mother, Lord Chaitanya said, yes, I will make my residence in Sri Jagannath Puri. After some days, Lord Chaitanya proclaimed that he would now leave for Puri. The devotees became very worried. They said, it's not a good time. It's very dangerous. There's too many obstacles. Because the border area between Bengal and Orissa, you couldn't travel. There were battles taking place. The king of Orissa, Prataparudra, was trying to protect Odisha. And Nawab Hussain Shah, the king of Bengal, he was very, very eager to conquer Orissa. So he was sending spies, he was sending military, he was agitating the area. It was very, very dangerous. Any traveler could be killed. Better please wait until the obstacles are removed. Lord Chaitanya, he loudly replied that, when is there ever a time when there's no obstacles? I will go now. And Advaita Prabhu, hearing that, understanding Lord Chaitanya really wanted to go, he said that nothing could stop you, my Lord. All obstacles are your servants. Please go now. But just spend 3 more days and take prasad. We can reflect upon this statement, all obstacles are your servants, from our perspective. Tatenu kampam susamikshamano punjana evatmikritam vibhagam. One of the favorite verses of our acharyas, that when there are obstacles, sufferings, difficulties, and a devotee bears them with folded palms and a grateful heart, taking shelter of Krishna, to that person, liberation is their rightful claim. So obstacles are inevitable for everybody, and they come in different forms. Now, the human nature is, sometimes even for devotees, we want to select the obstacles that we are favorable toward. But they're not obstacles. Unless they cause us pain, unless they're difficult to endure, they're not actually obstacles. It's an obstacle. It's hard to concentrate with all these firecrackers going off. They're Lord Chaitanya's friends. That means they're friends because they are there to help us surrender. Etam sta astaya paratma. Lord Chaitanya offered this prayer when he took sannyas. He was remembering the story in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam of the Avanti Brahman. This Avanti Brahman, what obstacles he had to endure. He was beaten, he was spit on, he lost all his wealth, he lost all his health, his family, his friends, the whole society totally rejected him. He had nothing, he had no one. And in that state, he was an arrogant person, a greedy person. So someone who's attached, when you lose everything, it's really painful. If you're not attached, it's not painful. But in that state, he took shelter of Krishna, not as a ritual, not theoretically. From the core of his heart, he took shelter of Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, who is living in the core of the heart of every living being. He knew the heart of that Avanti Brahman. In his life, he was not a famous person. It's only because Krishna told the story to Uddhava that we know about him. But other than that, everyone in the world hated him. Everyone who knew him. He was just a reject. He was somebody who had something, he misused people, he lost everything, he was just discarded like rubbish. But he took shelter of Krishna from the core of his heart. And Krishna reciprocated. He followed in the footsteps of the great souls. And of all the different great persons who offered prayers, we know the prayers of Prahlad and the prayers of Dhruva and the prayers of the Brijavasis and prayers of Ambarish Maharaj and prayers of Yudhisthira Maharaj. After Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, he selected the prayer of the Avanti Brahman as his model of surrender. For our benefit. Because obstacles come. Sometimes in ways that hurt. Sometimes in ways that disrupt everything. Could be relationships. Could be health. Could be economic situations. Could be results of what we're trying to achieve not happening. Could be the heat. Could be the crowds. Or it could be these Diwali firecrackers. Whatever it may be. The greatness of our life is to the degree we wholeheartedly take shelter of the higher power of the Vaishnava's mercy, because that's how we reach Krishna's mercy. So Lord Chaitanya told all the devotees, actually during these last 3 days there was a Kirtan at Advaita Bhavan, and Lord Chaitanya wanted to give his most special mercy to all the Vaishnavas. So like he did at Srivasangam, he sat on the throne of Advaita Prabhu's altar. The seat for Vishnu, Krishna. And there Lord Chaitanya manifested his mood of Krishna. And he said to the devotees, I am Narayan. I am Krishna. I am Ram. I am Varahadev, Narasimhadev, Matsya, Kurma. All incarnations are emanating from me. And I always give protection to my devotees. Have no fear. Whoever takes shelter of me, I will give protection. I gave shelter to Draupadi. I gave shelter to the Pandavas, to Prasad, to Ambarish. I gave shelter to Gajendra. And I gave shelter to the Brajavasis when Akasura came, Vatsasura came, Bakasura, Aristasura, Kaliya. And I gave shelter to the residents of Vrindavan, to the Brajavasis, when Indra sent torrents and torrents of rain, and I lifted the Govardhan hill with the little finger of my left hand for 7 days and 7 nights. I gave shelter from Kamsa. I gave shelter from Ravana. I'm the source of everything that exists. And I always protect my devotees. You should know, Lord Chaitanya said, I am forever subordinate to the love of my devotees, conquered by your affection. And there will never be a time when we are not together. Forever in the spiritual world, and whatever birth you may take in this world, you will never be without me, and I will never be without you. This is my promise. Lord Chaitanya extolled the glories of bhakti. Bhaktyamam abhijananti avanyaschasmi tatvata tatotvatva. In Bhagavad Gita tells that by pure undivided devotion, we can always be with Krishna. Bhaktya tvananya yashakya aham evam vidorjana. Gyatam drastam cha tatvena praveshtam cha parantapa. Only by bhakti can I be seen as I am standing here before you. Giving this solace to all the devotees, the Lord then left for Jagannath Puri. Still, whatever he may said, whatever he assured them of, these feelings of love and separation immediately erupted from their hearts. As Lord Chaitanya was leaving to be with Juggernaut, the devotees wept incessantly, falling to the ground incessantly. And seeing their condition, Lord Chaitanya wept incessantly and fell to the ground and embraced every single devotee with so much affection and reassured them. And he left. Everyone was following him. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur tells, it was an exact replica of when Akrura took Krishna and Balaram from Vrindavan. Because Nityananda Prabhu was going with Lord Chaitanya. Krishna and Balaram. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur tells that Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are Krishna and Balaram. And all these devotees who were Lord Chaitanya's devotees were the gopis and gopas of Vrindavan. And the experience of the ecstasy of the pain in imminent separation was exactly the same. It was literally a reenactment of that Leela. They were following him to Puri. Lord Chaitanya turned around and beg them all to return to their homes and chant the holy names, and he'll always be with them. And then he said to Advaitacharya that you're completely, your tears and you're falling unconscious that I'm leaving. There is no hope for them to survive if they see you in this condition. Please go back with them and give them strength. And what was the emotions of Sachi Devi when she saw her Gauranga leaving for another land? So now we'll begin the lecture. Of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how he traveled to Jagannath Puri. Continuously, at every moment, he was so eager to be with Lord Jagannatha. He was crying out, "Oh Jaggernaut, oh Nila Chala Chandra Jaggernaut." In the mood of Sri Radha, he was constantly in a mood of praying for the mercy of Lord Jagannatha, for the presence of Lord Jagannatha. In Krishna book, in the chapter of Akrura coming to Vrindavan from Mathura, Srila Prabhupada writes that we cannot enter Vrindavan just by buying a ticket, railway ticket, airline ticket, rickshaw ticket, taxi, not even by walking. Because Vrindavan is a spiritual place. You cannot enter into the realm of the spiritual atmosphere of Vrindavan unless we have a spiritual consciousness. From the time Akrura left from Mathura, all the way he was intensely praying to Krishna, surrendering to Krishna, feeling profound anticipation to see Krishna, to serve Krishna. And similarly, to understand the mood of Lord Chaitanya coming to Puri, to try to capture that spirit according to our insignificant state of consciousness. If we're sincere, if we're simply sincere and we have no ulterior motives and we're praying with eagerness, laulyam, eagerness to be with the devotees, eagerness to see the chakra on top of Jagannath's temple, or for many of you, to go inside Jagannath's temple and to see Jagannath, Tota Gopinath, Gambhira, Siddha Bakula, the sea that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proclaimed to be the king of holy places. Gundicha, the Jagannath Vallabha Gardens, Chatak Parvat, to be in all these places where the eternal Leela of Lord Gauranga and his associates are taking place. And to be among sincere, like-minded devotees. To take Prasad cooked by Gauranga Prabhu and Radhabala Prabhu and Damodar Prabhu and all the cooks. To hear Juggernaut, Hari Katha, Hari Kirtan, that eagerness, that anticipation, we will experience the spiritual substance of Krishna's mercy in a holy place to the degree we have that. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaching us how to be a devotee. The whole time he was coming, oh Jagannatha, such separation, such anticipation. He comes to one place. Actually, when he first started the journey, Advaita Prabhu, he was such an organizer. He assigned who was going to go to to Puri with Lord Chaitanya. He assigned Nityananda Prabhu, Mukunda Dat, Jagadananda Pandit, and Damodar Pandit. And when they were alone, away from all others, Lord Chaitanya turned to them and asked a question. Have you brought anything with you? But he asked the question in such a way that it invoked fear in their hearts. They said, my Lord, no, of course not. We would not. How could we bring anything without your permission? Lord Chaitanya was satisfied with that answer. He said, if we're going on a spiritual journey to receive the mercy of the Lord, we must be in a mood of completely depending on the mercy of the Lord. If you bring anything with you, you will not be depending on Krishna. People worry about what they're going to eat. Mahaprabhu said, Krishna's the source of everything. Janmadhyasya yadaha. All food is coming from him. If he wants you to eat, you will eat. If he wants you to starve, there's nothing you can do. Lord Chaitanya gave the example of a prince or a king who has so much wealth and so much power and so much influence, and somebody brings him a magnificent, sumptuous feast. And just before starting, he gets insulted. And his mind is so disturbed, he loses his appetite. And he says, I will not eat. Or he may get a fever, and all the food is there, but he can't eat anything. If Krishna wants you to eat, you will eat. If you surrender to Krishna, if Krishna wants you to live, you will live. If Krishna wants you to die, you will die. We are completely dependent on Krishna. That is the mood of going to the holy dham. That is the mood of a devotee. They traveled some way. They came to a place called Atisar, where there was a very sincere Brahmin devotee. Lord Chaitanya took Prasad at his house, had Hari Katha, Hari Kirtan through the night, and then the next day he left. Eventually, Lord Chaitanya came to Chhatrabhog. This place, in those days, the Ganges flows, and there was 100 streams flowing simultaneously there. And in one of those streams, there was a temple. It's still there today. Ambulinga Ghat, the banks of the river. And the history of this Shiva Lingam is told by Vrindavan Das Thakur, that when Maharaj lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, it flowed to the heavenly worlds, and he brought it to this earth. He brought her to this earth planet. And Lord Shiva was so eager to see Mother Ganga that with great anticipation he came to this Chaturabhog area where the 100 streams flow. And when he saw the stream of Mother Ganga, in so deep love, Lord Shiva entered into her waters, and in his ecstasy, his body became water and merged with her. And it is described there that Lord Shiva was worshiping Ganga, and Ganga was worshiping Lord Shiva. And there's a Shiva Lingam there. And within the Shiva Lingam, there's water. And that water is Lord Shiva himself, ever existing. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there, Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu, to show us the love that Krishna has for Shiva, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced and danced and danced, and he cried so much. From his eyes there were 100 streams pouring constantly. In fact, at that Ambulinga Ghat, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bathed, and when he came out of the water and put on dry clothes, instantly the tears pouring from his eyes soaked his clothes even more than when he took his bath. Devotees would give him another set of dry clothes. Immediately they were soaked. Devotees were laughing. The love of Lord Chaitanya for Shiva, Mahadev. There he was crying out, "Hey Jaggannath, oh Jaggannath, Hare Jaggannath." There was a very wealthy, powerful administrator, like a governor for that province. He was very wealthy. He was a sense enjoyer. He was being carried on a palanquin. And he heard these piteous cries, "Oh Jaggannath, oh Jaggannath." And there he saw Lord Chaitanya crying. And he felt so much deep, deep affection for the Lord. He was so beautiful. And he had such love. He was crying in such profound, inconceivable love that this person's heart, he was wondering, is there anything possibly in this world or anyone who can appease this person who's loving in such a state and crying? When Lord Chaitanya saw him, he asked, "Who are you?" And Ramchandra Khan, just by seeing the Lord crying in ecstasy, his heart was so transformed. His reply was, "I am the servant of your servants." And he said, "I happen to be the governor of this province. I administrate everything." Lord Chaitanya replied, "You are the administrator? Where is Nilachala Chandra? Where is Puri? Show me the way to Juggernaut in Puri." Ramchandra Khan said, "Please come to my house for Prasad." It's very difficult to go to Puri. You can't go to Puri now. Between here and Orissa, it's so dangerous. The Mughal king has disrupted this area so bad that on the path, there's razor-sharp spears pointing upward in the ground. So if anyone tries to walk, even armies, they can't move for more than a few feet. Their feet will be pierced. And anyone who travels at this time is proclaimed a spy and is beaten and killed. It's very difficult. Lord Chaitanya's reply was, "Oh Jagannatha, where is Juggernaut? Bring me to Juggernaut." He said, "Even if I lose my wealth, my fame, or my life, I must get you to Puri, somehow or other." So he brought him to his house for Prasad and personally cooked with great love and devotion, and Lord Chaitanya accepted his Prasad. And they spoke about Krishna all night long. Early in the morning, after Nam Kirtan and Hari Katha, he said, the boat is now at the ghat. He arranged everything. There was a boat. The 4 devotees got on the boat. Ramchandra Khan gave the boatman all directions. Lord Chaitanya, he turned to Mukunda, Hari Bol. And Mukunda Dat sang beautiful, sweet, loud Kirtan. Lord Chaitanya, as he was boarding the boat, he was dancing. The boatman was overwhelmed with fear. He said, stop this chanting. You can't. When we get to Orissa, then chant. But not now. This is the most dangerous place in the world. This river. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said it was Sundarban. The shore was infested with tigers. The river infested with crocodiles. So many military soldiers who will kill anyone they see were everywhere, plus pirates. For your kopin, they'll kill you. This is a very dangerous mission. Just be completely silent. So all the devotees became silent, except Lord Chaitanya. He said, when we surrender to Krishna, we should know that Sudarshan Chakra is always protecting the Lord's devotees. So go on with this chanting. How can anything harm us? You know how the Sudarshan Chakra is all powerful. He is surrounding us on all sides to protect us. The devotees had so much faith. The reality was there were limitless tigers, crocodiles, pirates, and military soldiers who, if they heard them, they would kill the devotees. But Lord Chaitanya's word, Hari Bol, chant, the devotees were jubilant. Immediately Mukunda loudly cried out the holy names. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing on the boat. And they reached the Prayag Ghat in Odisha. From there, Lord Chaitanya, he asked the devotees to wait at a temple. And while they were there very comfortably, he went from house to house begging alms. He would lay out his cloth. Simple grihastas. He'd say, please offer alms. With such humility, they would put uncooked rice in his cloth, sometimes some sabjis. After spending some time house to house begging, he would come back and give all the bhoga to Jagadananda Pandit and say, please cook this and we will offer it to Krishna. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, throughout the journey, he promised the devotees, you don't need anything because Krishna will provide for us. Lord Chaitanya himself provided for them. He became a beggar to provide for his devotees. That is the eternal nature of the Lord's love for his devotees. They came to one place where there was a tax collector. Because in every province, there was a different administrator or governor, and sometimes very arrogant. They would try to exploit people for their own purposes. So this tax collector, he saw Lord Chaitanya crying, "Oh Juggernaut, Juggernaut," and his heart melted. He decided to let Lord Chaitanya go without paying anything. So he asked Lord Chaitanya, "Are you with anyone else?" And Lord Chaitanya said, "I am in the mood of complete dependence on Krishna." He said, "I am all alone and I have nothing." So he said, "Well, you could go, but these others, they have to pay." So he told them, "You have to pay, otherwise you cannot go." But how could they pay? Because they were not allowed to bring anything with them. So what do you think they did? They laughed. They were laughing. Lord Chaitanya's his inconceivable mercy. He's told us not to bring anything, and then he's abandoned us. So they were unhappy because they were afraid they wouldn't get his association, but they were also laughing because it was his Leela. Lord Chaitanya walked a ways, then he sat down. In separation, anticipation to have the darshan of Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, he was crying and crying. And that tax collector, who was actually a very mean person, his heart melted. He ran over to where Lord Chaitanya was. He prostrated his body before Lord Chaitanya and surrendered his life to Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya just cried, "Oh Juggernaut, oh Juggernaut." The tax collector came back to the devotees and asked, "Who is that person?" They said, "He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's Swayam Bhagavan. He's Sri Krishna Chaitanya. You must have heard about him. He's come to deliver the world with prema bhakti, and we're his servants." "Oh, you are his servants? Then you can go. You don't have to pay anything." After some time, they came to the village of Remuna. What time are we supposed to end? If no one knows, that gives a lot of leniency to me. I will not tell you what he said.